was. So let's get started on the trailer and let's do a walk around. We're out here at the tongue. We'll start with the 1 volt, but I am using 12 volt, and I always am going to use 12 volt all year round. So, welcome back to Walking into the Sunset, and welcome to the wrap-up episode for the cargo trailer conversion. Now, I'll have more projects on this trailer, but this is kind of my final wrap-up and walkthrough completion of the project, so I'm glad you could join me. So I'd please ask again that you subscribe, like the channel. It really helps, and for a new channel like mine, it's especially important to help and ring that bell as well. So let's get started looking at what we've done over the past few months. Actually, as it is right now, it's almost exactly a year ago I did get the trailer. So it's come a long way, and of course now it's set for a few months through the winter, so it's been winterized. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to take a look around it, and we're going to get a wrap up here on what I did to create this trailer and what the final outcome was. So let's get started on the outside. First of all, the truck has been really great. As many of you know, I started this with a half-ton Sierra, and I ended up with this Silverado 2500 HD. And we will be doing a wrap-up video on the truck and what I think of the changes. It's really has been kind of a massive change between the two trucks. Didn't think it really would be, but it was. So let's get started on the trailer and let's do a walk around. We're out here at the tongue. We'll start with the one thing I did upgrade here is I did get an electric jack. This was the Harbor Freight electric tongue jack. I've had no trouble with it, really like it. For those of you that have not seen episode 2, you may want to go back and watch episode 2 if you're interested in the trailer build, because I do take you to the factory and we see the entire build of the trailer. But it is a 2025 R&R trailers. And this is an all aluminum trailer. So it is this massive aluminum frame. I say massive. For an 8x20, it's probably a standard frame, but to me, that's a pretty good size trailer frame. It is an extended tongue, so it does make it better to pull with the extended tongue, makes it a little more stable, a little less to sway. And if I did decide I needed some sway control or weight distribution, I would be able to add it. I have enough room. And possibly I'm thinking for my long hauls when I go out west, I think I may put a box on here and put my generator in that. So going around this side of the trailer, I did have windows installed. These are egress windows for escape. They are at the proper height for escape. I did a lot of research. These are the Lippert windows, and I really like these. The screens work really well. When I am storing it, I do put the covers on the tires, and I do have little ramps I pull it up on to protect the tires from the stone. Here is the Valterra water fill, so it's just the standard. You got where I can fill the water tank, city water in, right there, and of course you can see down there a vent. So just your standard hookup. And here I have a 12 volt, 20 amp outlet for the pump, for the macerator pump over here, or a water pump later if I decide to pump water with it. Over here, I do have the waste outlet. When we get into how this is plumbed, we'll talk a little bit more about this, because I do have I want to say a unique way that I hooked up my black and gray tanks. When we get into the plumbing, we will see all that. And again, it is somewhat unique. This trailer is a ramp door trailer. So it's got a big ramp. It is the trailer ceiling height is 6'6". Again, it is an 8x20 trailer. And I did add the camera on the back, which ties into my TPMS. It is a Halo View TPMS. So I get this up on the dashboard wirelessly. And we'll cover that when we get into the electrical most likely. So on this side, I do have another window over here. Tire covers on again. So here, this is kind of an interesting setup. One of the things I did different than what most people do is I do have all the power on the opposite side. The reason I did it is because, first of all, the electrical room is right inside here. And I could have easily run it to the other side, but I actually wanted all my connections over here because I wanted them on the door side. So if I am running a generator or any type of external power, I want it on this side. It's not a problem for me. The one and only time I've been camping where there is power, I just ran the cord under the trailer over to the power box, and I do even have an extension cord. I can get, I believe, almost 60 feet between my two cords. So typical 120 volt outlets here, GFI protected. I have the Marinco stainless 30 amp in. I did not go with 50 amp in. I don't see a need for it with this trailer, and we'll go into that when we talk about the electrical system. I have two solar inputs here. One is for my 30 amp MPPT controller, and the other one goes in, and both of them, of course, go to a breaker first, and for disconnecting means. Then the other one goes directly to an XT60 connector, which can charge the EcoFlows through this connector inside. This is a 120 volt connector, just a standard 20 amp connector. The reason it is here is it enables me to hook a generator up directly to one of my EcoFlow power stations and then continue to have my EcoFlow connected to the panel in the trailer. That way it treats the EcoFlow as a pass-through. We'll touch base on that more when we talk about the electrical system inside. The door, of course, and I did decide, even though it came with an RV door, I wanted the bolt latch on it anyway, so I did go with that. Then over here, so on top, I have this outlet. This is for a 12 volt 20 amp outlet for my diesel heater. Down below, we have another one of the SAE connectors. This one down here is a solar input for my EcoFlow Wave 3 so I can charge it. So this is one of my unique ideas I've kind of instituted in this trailer build. This was a standard RecPro luggage door that I installed in here, and of course I put blocking in all these walls, and you'll see that in some of the episodes as well earlier on. I believe episode 4 or 5 I'm putting blocking in. So what this is for is, and there's a screen that goes over this, so during the winter when it's cold, I have an insert that you see in here now, and I have a diesel heater that connects right here. It sets outside here so I don't have to have it inside. And the top one is the supply, bottom one is the return. Then when I'm using this during the more moderate months for air conditioning or heating, the heat pump of the Wave 3, then the Wave 3 sets inside and that insert comes out, and I have those two hoses connect into those openings, and then I have a screen that goes on it so I don't have any bugs getting in my Wave 3. So I have heating or air conditioning, again, during the more moderate months. So if you go back, you'll see that in several videos as well. But that's what I came up with here, and that's what this door is for. All right, so that kind of covers the walk around of the trailer. So now let's head up to the roof and let's take a look at what we got up there. So the roof probably has one of the projects that I'm the most proud of. You know, I really struggled with the whole idea of solar on the roof, to be honest with you. Because, call it my paranoia or whatever you want to call it, but I was really worried about a way I could put solar on this roof to where I could feel comfortable over the years going down the road. You know, people use those Z brackets and they cut holes in their roof and do all sorts of crazy things. And I don't think it's good for the roof. I'm paranoid about it even staying on the roof. And I see people using Unistrut, which to me is a little better. Then they use the Z brackets again to connect to the Unistrut. And again, the Unistrut's going to rust. And so this is what I came up with. These are just, and again, I think around episode 6 or 7, you can see how I did this. I have a pair of racks on here, all aluminum. Got these at eTrailer.com. And then I used aluminum angle. Now, this was not cheap to do this, I gotta tell you. So I have 3 220 watt bifacial panels up here on the roof. And I used all stainless hardware. These are stainless square U-bolts. I drilled all these pieces of 1.5 aluminum angle up here, and then I use stainless hardware from the bottom, 1/4-20s here, and you can see it underneath. And I use the factory holes on the solar panels, and I bolted it. So there are 8 bolts in each solar panel connected to these aluminum angles, and then they are bolted down to this rack. Now, I'm going to tell you, these aren't going anywhere. And the foot that they're off of the trailer top, I did consult the solar manufacturer because I bought my panels right here in town at the manufacturer where they're made. They're actually made right here in Michigan City at High Tech Solar. And I do have an episode on that as well. So I asked him if this foot that I have them off of the top of the trailer would be enough to get bifacial. And he said, absolutely. Now I know it's not going to be peak, but they do real well. I gotta tell you, real well. So, and you will see in several of the episodes I talk about the wattage I get off these panels, and I've been very happy with them. And I may add another set. As you can see, I have more than enough room. Now you're going to see the one thing I have that a lot of people probably will say is old school and they don't want to deal with is I have a Galvalume roof, and it is in sections, as you can see. And then of course it has the Eternabond type tape on it. Now shortly after I got the trailer, I saw some areas where, to me, I saw screws that were kind of high, and I didn't like that. I don't know if you can see that. So I actually put a piece of, this is actually Gorilla Tape on here. I've never had any leaks in the trailer. Don't want any leaks. And what I do plan on doing is this summer, I plan on putting the Henry's Tropicool over the entire roof. I'll have to do some studying up and figure out for sure how to treat the tape, how to cover it, and do any touch-ups. But again, no leaks. The only holes I've cut in the roof is the hole for the plumbing vent, which you can see right over there, and a hole for my box way over on the other side. You can see it where all my solar goes up. These 3 solar panels are all in parallel. I decided to parallel the panels. That way I didn't have to worry about shading when I was parked in places where I got a lot of tree cover, anything like that. And it's such a short distance to the MPPT controller, and we'll cover some of that later. But I did bring 2 sets of solar cables up here, number 10s, that go over into that junction box over there. So I do have choices. Again, if I add another set of 3 and probably put them on up here, I will most likely go with put all 3 of these in series, the other 3 in series, then parallel the 2 and take them down together. But as far as penetrations in the roof, then I've only got the 2. I've got the plumbing vent and I got the solar inlet, and I will be adding a little bit later on this season. I will be adding a 12-volt weatherproof outlet for my Starlink. And you may have seen the episode on my Starlink where I tested it, and it actually does work and send its Wi-Fi signal through this metal roof, which I was really happy. The other thing that was kind of nice about this, I'm not going to say I would walk on this roof, but I think you probably could if you wanted to. It is the Galvalume, and then they do have either a 1/4 or 3/8 inch luan under this. So it is not like so many roofs are, where you just have tin or aluminum, and then below it, you go right through if you stepped on it. There is wood underneath this roof. But as I was saying earlier, you know, a lot of people go with the aluminum roofs. And I get it. The aluminum roof isn't going to rust on you. But it's nowhere near as strong as what the Galvalume is. And that's kind of the reason in the end, I think I was okay going with the Galvalume roof. All right. I think that does it here on the roof. There is a powered roof vent up here. I didn't put that in. I did get that done from the factory. All right, let's move inside the trailer. All right, before I go inside the trailer, I'd actually forgotten these. I have 2 of these orange or yellow, I guess you'd want to call them, of these lights out here, these outdoor lights, and are they ever bright? They are unbelievably bright at night. I was actually surprised how bright they are. All right, so let's go ahead and go inside and take a look, but I am in winter mode right now, so I'll ask you to please forgive the mess it is inside. Any of you that store your RVs for the winter, I think you'll know what I mean. So let's go ahead. Let's step inside. All right, so the one thing I really had as a big goal from my trailer here was to have a lot of space up here in the front. Most of you may know I have 2 Great Danes, so space to me was important. So there were a few things that were designed around that. So I do have a work area up here in the front. Again, please forgive the mess. We are in winter mode right now, so we got a lot of things scattered. So this is my desk up here where I can do work, a nice storage shelf up here. This is my rollaway bed, very comfortable. Great rollaway bed. I wanted to do that so I could put it away when I'm not using it and gain all this space back. Added this towards the end of the year. It's just an inexpensive recliner. It's really been nice to have that. In the kitchen area here, this was kind of a very difficult decision. The one strange thing you're going to see right off the bat is how tall the countertops are. Very tall. And the reason they are, I believe they were 46. The reason they're that tall is, again, for the Great Danes. So it keeps them off. But I had a friend of mine that's an artist do these. This is a dirty pour acrylic. And it's a gorgeous countertop. It is a unique, one of a kind, obviously. I wanted it done in primary colors because I kind of like primary colors. So the yellow, blue, red, and it's, I do like it. So I ended up going with this kind of deep stainless steel sink here. Again, we're in winter mode, so I have the bucket of Damp-Rid in here to try to keep the trailer from getting a lot of moisture. Went with all open shelves because open shelves to me, we're going to keep the weight down, and they work great. I have no problems with things coming off or anything because I put them upside down. And I used the track that was made for these shelves. And I have an episode where I show you how I put these shelves in as well. You can go back and take a look at that. But do love these shelves, and I would recommend these shelves to anybody if you're looking at keeping the weight down. Over here is the electrical room. And this structure was built to house of course, being a retired electrician, for me, the most important parts of the build was the electrical system, and we'll cover that here in a minute. So on top, I've got lots of storage. I've got these cloth bins up here for clothes when I'm traveling. Kind of put appliances. I can put some of my heavier foods over in these shelves right now. Again, I'm in winter mode, so things are just piled everywhere. Then these are the doors I ended up fabricating myself and putting on to cover the electrical area. Honestly, I probably would have left it open if once again, I didn't have two Great Danes. So I got to kind of keep things from them, a way to keep them from getting in it. Under the kitchen counter right here are the two tanks. We will take a look at those when we get into the plumbing, as well as the electric hot water heater is mounted out here, and we will cover that a little bit later as well. Moving to the back of the trailer, we have the toilet room, which is right here. Very basic. It is a Dometic 320 porcelain toilet. I really kind of insisted if I'm going to be out there, I gotta have a nice porcelain toilet. I want something comfortable and usable. I do have a black tank. We will get into that with the plumbing. Going to the back, the other thing I insisted on is I had to have a shower. This is a 30-inch by 30-inch musty shower stall. This is a residential shower stall that I installed in here. Regular residential shower head. Great hot showers in this. We will get into some of the unique parts of this build when we go into the plumbing. Back to, once again, this is winterized, so all the pink stuff and the damp red. Behind me, I have just some storage. And this is where I have my refrigerator. I decided to put it back here. And currently I'm using the Set Power 66 quart. So far it's worked really well. Pulls about 40 watts on a regular basis, cycles on and off if it's not too hot. Works pretty good. I have a T-Mobile hotspot in here, internet. This is what runs my security cameras during the winter, summer, whenever I need it. It sips power. It running with my security cameras averages basically only about 14 to 16 watts. So it runs all the time and runs on my winter battery during the winter just fine. This is my electrical panel. This is a Squirt EQO panel. We will get into that when we get into the electrical. This is kind of a unique part of my build as well. When we get into the electrical, we'll be talking about a lot of unique things I did in this build. Again, I'm not bragging. I'm just saying there are a lot of things that I really had on my bucket list that this trailer had to tick all the boxes for. I've had enough RVs and I've been exposed to RVs to where I feel I know where the weaknesses are in RVs, and in this build, I was going to eliminate those weaknesses. All right, I'm going to get the gate or the back ramp down. All right, so we got the back ramp open now. So you can see I do have a spare tire back here. This is where my pump is for my shower. Because all my plumbing is internal, I had to have a pump. So later on when we talk about that, you kind of know what I'm talking about. You can see it's all winterized right now. You can see the pink in it. So back here, I basically, again, have the spare tire. I have all of the shelving put in here for storage. It's just kind of a garage area. And I also have another electrical 12-volt electrical panel back here. This one covers just the things here in the back. It's a small one. We will talk about that when we get to the electrical. And then looking forward, you can see through the trailer. So I do still have room to get an e-bike, bicycles. I don't think you could get a motorcycle through here. But again, that was never my intent with this build. I never was looking to have a traditional toy hauler. The only reason I got the ramp on the trailer was my dream still is to put an attic room on this. I kind of want to put, I haven't decided yet whether it's going to be a soft-sided tent type of attic room or whether I want to build something that's hard-sided. I'm still working on that. That'll be a project for this spring, so stay tuned for that and we'll see what we come up with. Whatever it is, I promise it's going to be a pretty unique build though. So the first thing we're going to cover as far as the trailer's mechanical systems is going to be the electrical. So that is the part I really spent a lot of time planning. And again, as I talked about, trying to, in my mind, solve the issues that I saw in RVs that I did not like and fix. You know, one of the major things I don't like in RVs are those combination panels. I even forget the brand name of them. There's several, and I don't want to bash any brands, but where you have your 12 volt and 120 volt all in one, and you've got these really inadequate, in my mind, breakers that are in there. And again, we won't go into brands. All the years I was an electrician, the only thing I will trust are QO breakers, whether it's in my house or in my trailer. And again, that's what we have back here. We have a QO panel, and that's the way I did this. So the trailer is wired with all number 12 wire, and we'll take a look at the way I got cabling to the different places in the trailer, but it was always by Raceway, with the exception of just a couple wires that are here local. Whether it was aluminum flex, or a lot of these run under the trailer using 3/4 inch non-metallic liquid tight under the trailer and are strapped up. I do cover that in some of the videos, but we will take a look at that. As a matter of fact, here down in the corner you can see a couple of them going down through the floor here. Okay, so we're near the front of the trailer right now. Here you get a pretty good view of how I did the liquid tight going under. This goes all the way from the electrical room up to the nose of the trailer to carry all those circuits up there. So, back over here. So this outlet here goes outside, and it connects to that Marinco 30 amp input. And then I have a 30 amp plug here, and that goes, right now it's got a 20 amp adapter on it for, again, I'm in winter mode, so for my Delta 2s. But during the season, my two Delta Pros set right here. I'll insert a picture here of the Delta Pros. They plug in this piece of marine grade 3-conductor number 10 goes up, and it feeds that panel you see up there. So when I'm boondocking, those Delta Pros are feeding my house panel and going out to all my 120 volt circuits here. When I'm in a park or someplace with shore power, whether it's home or like when I went to the Indiana Dunes State Park this year, I go ahead and I connect my Marinco connector outside, which powers this right here, and then I connect my surge suppressor up to it to protect it. Then I plug this into the surge suppressor, and I have power. So that's the way I do my 110 volt system. Now, as I said then, the trailer is, oh, before I leave down here, there is my one piece of marine cable right here for a 20 amp circuit. That comes from the panel. It feeds this GFI over here on the other side, and then it goes to the outside GFI. Other than that, everything is Raceways in this trailer. So there is my one receptacle. All the receptacles in the trailer are also 20 amp receptacles. There are no 15 amp receptacles in this trailer at all. Even like here in the bathroom, this GFI protected receptacle, it is 20 amp. If I go into the kitchen area, this is where I ran the conduit around actually, and these are all 20 amp receptacles. And then you'll see in a lot of cases that I went to Surface Raceways, and I use the wire mold Surface Raceways, and they go around several places. They feed receptacles on the wall, like back here. Everything in the trailer is GFI protected, except for the outlets that I knew couldn't be. Like this is the outlet that I feed my EcoFlow on. This one cannot be GFI protected. This one really does have to be a standard outlet. Again, it's 20 amp. It goes back through the Surface Raceways. This is a wire mold 2300. And it goes back into the electrical room, and then you can see the aluminum flex raceways going down to a box, then they go across over to the electrical panel. Again, everything here is number 12. Now, some of you may have noticed you see 12 volt and 120 volt in the same raceways. Yes, there are. And yes, it is safe, and yes, it is legal, because all the conductors in these raceways are 300 or 600 volt. In this case, they're all THHN, so they're 600 volt rated cables, wires. So they can be in the same raceway together safely, and they do not interface in the same boxes. You know, like the 12 volt is here, but the 120 volt passes through. Then there's a 12 volt that passes through, goes over here. So it's not like I've got 120 and 12 volt in the same box being used together. And even if there was, that would still be acceptable as long as the cables are correct. I have the same thing over here. I have 12 volt, 120 volt, 12 volt going up, all in the same raceways. Again, as long as my wire is all rated for 600 volts, we're good to go on that. So I believe that about covers the 120 volt system. So on to the 12 volt system now. So normally I would have 4 100 amp hour EcoFlow batteries sitting down there. I'll insert a picture of what that looks like here. This time of year I have a 100 amp Vadarer self-heating battery in here, and it's worked out really good. I do have a video and a short out on that. I really like it. It's performed well, done what I've needed it to. I did have to come out one time and put some power in with one of my power stations. But other than that, and that's because we went like 10 days without any sun. So overall, I'm happy with its performance. So we have the 4 EcoFlow batteries normally in here that are feeding my 12 volt system. So I have my 4 batteries in parallel when they're here. And so I've got my bus bars here, and all my batteries connected together. They are with the exact same lengths of number 2 copper welding cable. And then they all come in, and they come into my Class D fuse here, so they are protected. Then I have my disconnect here. And for my disconnect, we go into the Lynx distributor. And the negative, of course, goes from the bus bar and comes over and goes into the Victron shunt. Then it goes to the Lynx distributor. So from the Lynx distributor, I've got several things tapping off here. I do have an MPPT controller, the 150. I do have the Blue Smart charger connects to it. I do have the second MPPT controller, the 100/30, connected to it. This one, of course, is the rooftop solar. This one is that SAE connector outside, and then they both feed in to the Lynx distributor. Now, I do have a disconnecting means right here for the roof solar to the 100/50 MPPT controller, and then one of these here goes to the 100/30, and the other breaker from the SE connector goes to my XT60i connector, which I can use to charge the any of the EcoFlow power stations. This right here is that 120 volt 20 amp receptacle outside that I use to plug the EcoFlow power station in directly for pass-through. So the other things that I have coming out of the Lynx distributor is I have 2 power panels that come out of this Lynx distributor. So again, I have the Blue Smart charger that goes into it. I have the Smart solar charger. I have the 100/30. I have the 100/50 MPPT controller. And then the other thing I have coming out of it is this EcoFlow alternator charger. And what I've done with this, it's a little unique. And to get it to work, I had to order these bus bars. You can see from explorerslife.com, and I do have a video where I cover this, to where I had 2 of these fuse connectors on here so I could get everything connected to the Lynx distributor. Let's see if I can get that back on there. There we go. So I've got quite a bit on this Lynx distributor, but it's more than rated for it, and everything I got here is fuse coming off here. And everything is fused the proper size for the cable. So basically, the odd part about my setup is you're not going to see, let me see if I can get down in here. You're not going to see on any of this any bigger than number 2 wire, which a lot of you are probably saying, wow, you got a lot of stuff for number 2 wire. But I really don't, because I don't have an inverter in my build. My EcoFlow power stations provide all my power. There is no inverter here anyplace, which kind of is a game changer. And the thing I like about that is, well, it's winter and they're gone. I don't need them out here because I'm not using 120 volt, but I am using 12 volt, and I always am going to use 12 volt all year round. So with the system I have with the winter battery, I'm able to do that. So over here on the forward side of the electrical room, we have the first 12 volt panel. This is a 60 amp feed to this panel, and it's full. It's got a lot of circuits in it that go all over the trailer. I use nothing but Bussmann ATC fuses on these. I want to make sure I got good fuses, and I fuse them close. I like having lots of separate circuits for the lights. I don't like putting on a whole bunch of lights and different loads on different circuits and not protecting them. I don't know if you can see in there, but I got a lot of 5s, a lot of 10s, because again, I'm protecting things close. Down here on the other side of the trailer, I have my second panel, and this is another 60 amp feed. This is under the kitchen counter. In this panel, feeds all the things on this side of the trailer, a lot of charging outlets. It feeds the pump, the outside receptacle for the macerator, any of the things over here that are 12 volt, a lot of the lights over here. So all that's over here, and it feeds that panel I showed you in the back of the trailer. I put a picture here out in the garage that serves the loads in the back. So there is 30 amps that comes off this, number 10 wires, and it runs through Raceway. I think you can see that piece of Liquid-Tight right there. Runs all the way back under things. It doesn't go under the trailer, but it runs under the bathroom and stuff all the way to the back, and it feeds that panel. So I really like experimenting around with this EcoFlow alternator charger. It's really worked well. I was able to take and connect to the fuse panel here with an XT60 cable, and I was able to charge the EcoFlow at about 200 watts, which, you know, really wasn't bad, but a little slow off the 12 volt. So basically what I was able to do is take, when I had a really good charge on my 4 12 volt 100 amp hour batteries, and put power into my EcoFlow power stations. But I decided to experiment around with this, and I got to be honest, I'm glad I did. So now I'm able to take 12 volts from my batteries when they're here, and I'm able to create 500 watts with this EcoFlow converter, this alternator charger. And it works really well, and I'm able to charge the power stations over twice as fast. So in closing on the electrical system, I got to tell you, when I first started looking at this, it was really a struggle because there's so much out there. Renogy, Li-Time, everybody's making charge controllers now, and in many cases they're a lot less money. But I got to tell you, in the end, the thing that sold me on going with Victron for all this was this little guy here that I haven't talked about yet, and that's the Cerbo GX. You know, being able to monitor and control your system from everywhere, get the temperature inside your trailer and everything is really a game changer for me. So I did go with Victron because of the Serbo GX. And I got to tell you, I haven't regretted it. It is amazing the amount of information I get from the Victron system and the Serbo GX. And I got to say, I know I throw this out every once in a while, but let me say it again. Nothing here has been sponsored through this entire trailer build. I didn't get anything from anybody. I actually paid for everything myself. So let's go ahead and let's move on to the plumbing. All right. Time to talk plumbing, and I got to tell you, this is the part of the build I struggled with the most. Probably because I wasn't as comfortable with the plumbing as I was anything else. But I got it done, and it doesn't leak, and it works. So maybe I should say I'm kind of proud of the way it turned out. So let's talk about that. So what I did that's really going to be kind of different is I use PEX-A for my plumbing. So you can see all the pink stuff in it now, but as you can see, it's all PEX-A. I did go out and get one of the tools for it, the DeWalt PEX-A tool. Everything worked really well. So I have two 35-gallon tanks down here. This one is my fresh water tank, and you can see it's connected to the outside. The inlet that I showed you out there, along with the city water, is connected here as well. And our vent is connected there. Now, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail with this, simply because I have a video that covers all the ins and outs of that. But you can see my water heater is over here. And this water heater, I've got to tell you, it's really kind of amazing. It's an Ecotherm. I believe Ecotemp hot water heater, and it's been amazing. Doesn't take a lot of power, 1440 watts, heats up in about 10-15 minutes, to be honest with you. So it's really efficient on power. And I have two pieces of flexes that go across. You can see them here that go into the water manifold over there. Yeah, they're really long and they were hard to even find these, but I used to have the hot water heater setting up on the counter. That was a big mistake I made, and at the end of this video we're going to go over kind of my shortcomings of this build and what I wish I did different. That will definitely be in it. So the other tank down here is the gray water tank. You can see it over here. You can see the plumbing here. This black pipe here is the vent going over and up. It joins the vent for the black tank on the other side and goes up. You can also see it's a wet vent there because I have the shower pump coming in over from in the back. It pumps all the way up here into the gray tank. Then the gray tank, actually, I don't know if you can see that down there. Ah, you can. I got it through there. You can see down there where the gray tank goes out and goes into the toilet room, and we'll go over and we'll show you how I got all that tied together. But yeah, this has worked really well. I do have valves and shutoffs for everything in the system, and the PEX-A has never leaked. The only thing I didn't use the expansion fittings on was I used two shark bite connectors for the backflow preventers, the check valves. One here for the pump side and one for the outside, so I didn't get any backflow on those. And of course, we talked about it earlier, but there is the electrical panel on this side of the trailer that serves everything over here. All right, so we're going to go next and we will check out how the black and gray tanks tie together. So quite honestly, this might be the thing in this build I was the most proud of, how I was able to get all this put together and make it work. So I knew I didn't want any tanks under this trailer. I absolutely did not want that. I wanted to make this 3 seasons, if maybe not 4 seasons, which I didn't get to test this year. We are winterized. But putting tanks underneath, I didn't need to have heaters in them and everything. So I wanted to keep everything inside the trailer, which I was able to do. As I just mentioned, the gray tank is in here, so it's inside. So black tank's under the toilet. It sets directly on top of it. So I had to raise it up, which I didn't really like. It's one of the things that we'll cover in regrets. I kind of almost wish I would have got a 7-foot ceiling in here, but I didn't. And we'll cover that a little bit later. So here we go. Here's my trick for the black tank. Here's what I've got. This opens up. The black tank is under the toilet there. And I have 2 valves here. Black tank's here. Gray tank is here. Goes through over to the gray tank. So all the water is kept inside the trailer where it's warm if it's cold outside. None of it is out and below the trailer. So when I go to dump, I go ahead and connect outside, of course, first, and I open up my black tank and it fills the pipe going out. And then once it fills that, then I go outside and I open the valve outside. So there's yet another valve outside. So I'm not opening this and I'm not outside when it goes going out there, just in case there's an issue with the black. So I go ahead and macerate or dump whatever I'm doing, the black, then I come back, close the black, and I open the gray and I finish flushing the line out and I flush out the gray. Again, I'm pretty proud of this. It worked out really well. It's kind of nice and hidden from view, and it's kept everything in the trailer. I've got a little latch here. Actually, I latch this up when I'm doing that, but then when I'm done, that closes up and we're done. I had really considered what I was going to do for hardware to open this, and I just decided, why not a simple hole drilled in? I reached my finger through and it worked good. As far as the shower goes, I think we kind of looked at it. There's really no more here to explain. I built an elevated base for this, so don't have a whole lot of headroom, but it's 6 feet, so it's enough. And the pipe goes over. It goes to a sump pump in the back that pumps it over there to where I showed you. And there's a switch here. You turn on that pump and it pumps it back there. So I think that pretty much covers the plumbing system in the trailer. There isn't a whole lot to it, I got to tell you. It's simple, but it's really worked well. I don't know that I would change anything as far as the way I did the plumbing system. My heating and air conditioning in this build ended up being probably one of my easier things because I knew that I wanted them to be modular and I would be able to remove them when I wasn't using them. So I very simply went with the EcoFlow Wave 3 for heating and air conditioning. As an air conditioner, if it's hot out, it's not going to do a whole lot, quite honestly. But it did work when it was for cooler nights. And for heating, it actually did a really good job. But I did understand that I wasn't going to be able to use it when it got really cold out. And that's why I decided to get a diesel heater as well. So I went with the Bouge RV diesel heater, and I got the self-contained one that I could set outside because I really had decided that there was no way I wanted diesel fuel inside my trailer. So a lot of people may argue with that and say it's an inconvenience, but really it was the way I wanted to go. And as you can see here with the return and supply ducts, it's really efficient, and the heater's efficient because it's outside and it's getting 100% combustion air. So that worked great. And I used both of them using that luggage door I put in as a pass-through. So that kind of covers my heating and air conditioning choices. All right, there we go. Some of you may recognize that. That was test camp number 3 at the Indiana Dunes National Park. That was pull-through site number 52. All right, let's get started now. So, as I promised, we were going to have at the end this little wrap-up where I talked about what I think I did right, what I could have done different, and the regrets I have. And I have quite a bit of all of them, actually. The years I did construction, I did learn to definitely look at a project when I was done and realize what I could have done better, the regrets I had, and what I would do better going forward. And stay tuned to the end of this particular episode because we've got a little announcement about a future project coming up. So let's go into no regrets. What are the things that I would have done exactly the same way if I had to do them again, all right? The biggest one probably is the rock solid flooring, the Rust-Oleum rock solid flooring. You know, it's been a while now since that's been down, and it was down during the entire construction process, and the floor has held up amazing. Really good. I mean, it's still got a beautiful shine on it. It still looks really good. The dog's paws don't affect it. I would definitely, as long as you're okay with a plain floor, no beautiful wood grain or anything, the rock solid floor is a rock solid choice, honestly. I think it's amazing. I'm really happy with the final choice I made in a bed, the rollaway bed. Instead of taking up this mass amount of space with a bed that was not being used when I wasn't sleeping in it, the rollaway is not only extremely comfortable, but has served exactly that purpose. I fold it up and roll it away when I'm not using it. Now I've got all that space. And I have roughly 64 square foot of space, which is a lot of space in any RV that's totally open, blank slate. I can do whatever I need to do with it, and that's really handy in an RV. Probably one of my biggest no regrets that I'm really happy with were the solar panels. You know, there were a lot of way cheaper ways I could have done that. Attaching them to the roof would have saved a fortune. Actually, the rack to mount those panels cost almost triple what the panels cost. It was very expensive to put that rack up there. And if I increase my solar panels, I'm probably going to end up with even more expense to increase it, obviously. But I think what I may even want to do, as much as I love my local solar panel maker, but being as analytical as I am, I may really want to try a different panel up there. I've got a few in mind. We'll see. So we can do a head-to-head comparison with our panels, being I have two MPPT controllers. It'd be interesting to do a comparison. So stay tuned for that, maybe later this summer, maybe next winter. When I go to the desert, we'll be looking at that. As much as I like it, would I do some things different? Probably yes and no. Now, we all know, and anybody to argue any different isn't correct on this, but solar panels laying flat get just as much as solar panels, especially in the winter, that are tilted to meet the exact angle of the sun. Yeah, that makes a big difference, tilting them to get that angle. So why didn't I tilt my solar panels? I spent all that money, all that time building that solar rack. I could have added a way to tilt it, and I considered it, and I actually drew it out. I even went as far as I had found some motors I was going to use to do an electric tilt on them to get the angle of the sun just right. Why didn't I? In the end, it came down to one simple thing. When I'm going down the road at 60 miles an hour, I do not want to leave anything to chance on that roof. Something that could fly off the roof, hit another vehicle, just lose your investment. So I decided that my panels on my roof were going to be as solidly mounted as I possibly humanly could. And I did achieve that. So what's my solution then to get enough solar to boondock? That was ground deployed solar. And that's why I do have two SAE connectors on the outside of my trailer where I can input solar to supplement my roof. Now my roof is only 600 watts and I use it, I think, more to just maintain the 12-volt system, which it will do. Even when camping in low sun, I was able to keep my 12-volt system to use my CPAP at night, to run lights. The water pump, all the basic necessities, my solar panels, the 600 watts on the roof will maintain that. But for my 120 volt system for my EcoFlows, I need the ground-based solar. Now, as many of you have watched when I stayed in the national park, I never met those goals because I just didn't have a place to get it. But I guarantee you those ground deployed solar panels, they rock if they're put in the right place. So being that I can aim them wherever I need them, I have no doubt that I will be able to collect enough solar with my ground-based solar, and now with the solar blankets they have and other really cool things, I have no doubt that next winter when I'm out in the desert, I will be able to collect enough solar. My fridge choice. You know, I really struggled with whether to go with the chest refrigerator freezer or build one in. And in the end, I decided because of the efficiency and going back to that whole component aspect to where I could take things in and out, I could move them. You know, I considered if I'm on a long trip, say out in the desert, and my fridge goes out, you know, one that's installed is going to kind of be a pain. And these chest refrigerators that you get from any number of manufacturers now, you can have those things really quick within days, sometimes even quicker. And you could always use ice in them to make up for it during the time until you got the other one. But pulling out and replacing an RV fridge and getting one really isn't as easy as that. My power setup. I don't think I would do anything different with my power setup. I really don't. I mean, I look at it and I've analyzed it and I don't think I'd do anything different. The one thing some people may comment, and I've had some people ask, well, Rich, why didn't you go with a 50 amp service in your trailer? Now, I could have. I certainly got a panel big enough. It wouldn't have taken a whole lot of change to make that a 50 amp service, but it's not something I needed. Being this was going to be a boondocking trailer, I never intended ever to use any more than 30 amps. I am going to figure out how to make it work on 30 amps always. I just don't need 50 amps, so that's why I didn't go with 50 amps. The surface raceways, that in the end, that was a no-brainer. I've already had a couple instances where I've added to it, and it was so easy because I used surface raceways just to add wire to it. You know, I use THHN copper conductors in all my surface raceways and in my concealed raceways, so adding to it is just like a commercial building. All I got to do is add wire to it and away I go. It really was one of the best things I did in the build. There is nothing in my trailer wire-wise that's inaccessible, can't be changed or added to, and it's just the way I wanted it. So probably that is the item I have absolutely no regrets, and I don't see any way I would do any of the electrical different. The water system. I'm really happy with the fact I kept all the water inside. And I hesitated because there's a part of my plumbing I do have a regret, and I will get to that in regrets. But the water system, absolutely amazing. I have no regrets on the water system and the way I installed it. Kept it all inside. It all fit really well. It might have taken up a little bit more room in some places, and having a shower pump is something to go wrong, and I don't think I covered that. I think I covered it in the video, but there is an overflow. If my shower pump ever failed, there is an overflow that goes to the back corner. I could always stick a bucket under it, not let it run out on the ground, and very simply collect the water till I fix the shower pump. Or if I was using a completely biodegradable soap, yeah, I could probably run it out on the ground. But hopefully that won't ever happen, and I think that will be a spare that I will carry with me, is that shower pump. All right, so let's move on to second thoughts. All right, how about second thoughts? Things I might have done a little bit different. Let's start off with the one glaring thing that probably so many of you that have watched my entire series or any of my series have probably thought to yourself, why did he go with all the gray paint? The trailer's gray, the floor's gray, the walls are gray, the ceiling's gray. It's all gray, except my kitchen countertops, which are those amazing primary colors. I mean, that's the one part I guess that stands out. Why did I go with gray? Well, first of all, I like gray, but second of all, gray stays clean. And my thought was with boondocking or spending the winters in the desert, camping with all the windy conditions, the dirt, gray was going to hide all the dirt and having dogs in the trailer all the time. So that was my thought process. Now, here's the good thing. You can always change paint. So paint's easily changed, and there could be some color changes in the cards. Of course, the floor, I'm not going to change that. That's the gray Rust-Oleum Rock Solid, and I'm not changing that, nor would I. I like it just the way it is, but there may be a ceiling change, maybe white, something to lighten it up a little bit, but that'd be a good project for a long winter in the desert. We'll see. My next second thought is with the heating and air conditioning systems, my HVAC systems. You know, like everything else, I wanted a component. I wanted it easy to change. I didn't want things that required park power to run, so no mini split, no big unit on the roof. I wanted something sustainable. So that left something like the EcoFlow Wave 3 or Bouge RV makes a solution. There are a lot of solutions out there that I'm not thinking of or mentioning, I'm sure. So since I'm an EcoFlow fanboy and I can run the EcoFlow Wave 3 even directly off the DC output of the power stations, I decided to go that route. Those things aren't cheap, but I thought thought I would take a chance with it, and I gotta tell you, if you watch the reviews on it for the air conditioning, wasn't good. Uses a lot of power, and once that trailer bakes for a few hours in the hot sun, you're not going to cool it with one of those. I don't know that you cool it with two of those, but that 6,000 BTUs of cooling did actually work in the evenings on 75, 80 degree nights. And it did work. And I was able to use it off grid. Did have to run a generator the next day because I couldn't get enough solar in the national park, but it will work. And it actually even worked better for heat. I was able to create quite a bit of heat with that Wave 3. Now, the bad part about it is you're only going to get heat out of it till about freezing, and then it's just not going to deliver heat anymore because it's a heat pump. So then I entered into the solution, the Bouge RV diesel heater. That thing's amazing, I gotta tell you. And I will do some more testing on that in April. I've already booked some camping this April in our national park. I will be boondocking, and I will be doing more testing on the Bouge RV diesel heater. But that thing rocks. It works really well. And I've had some comments about my choice of having a diesel heater outside. I don't have any regrets about that because I do not want a diesel heater inside. I don't want any propane inside. And those one of the things I don't regret is not having propane or diesel inside my rig, and that's not going to change. I'm not going to do that. So the last thing on my second thought list was my choice of toilets. Now, the Dometic 320, some would say it's the Cadillac of RV toilets, and I'd agree. It's nicer than most toilets in people's homes. It is a really nice toilet and really expensive and really heavy. And because of my choice of going with the Dometic 320, I had to upgrade a lot of things. A lot of extra bracing, 1-inch plywood instead of 3/4-inch plywood. And yeah, I did do my due diligence and talk to people at the lumber yard, some carpenters I knew. And because of that 30-inch span in that toilet room, putting that heavy toilet on there and then standing or setting on it, it was more than what 3/4 was going to be able to handle. So I ended up going with 1-inch plywood, which if you watch that episode, that's a whole other story and how hard it is to get 1-inch plywood. But in retrospect, I might have gone with a lesser toilet. I'm going to enjoy that decision, but I'll live with it. All right, now let's go on to the regrets. All right, here we go. Here's what everyone tuned in for, to hear what I regret, what I think I did wrong. And actually, the regret page is the longest. So let's get into my regrets, the things I wish I would have done differently in this build and wouldn't do again. So the one many of you may have known is, and I don't know what I was thinking, other than I always blame it on a friend of mine, my first location for the hot water heater, which is pictured here. I don't know why I thought this was a good idea, but I did, and it only lasted one camping trip there, and I moved it to its new location, which you saw in earlier in this video. You know, that was one that I could fix. Some of the regrets I can't fix, but don't put your hot water heater up on a counter, especially as precious as space is on a counter in an RV. You want your counter space. Next regret, it was difficult. When I originally ordered the trailer, I ordered that trailer with a 7'6" ceiling. That was going to be great. All the space I could want. And then I started thinking about it, and I called and I asked what it would add for weight, and they really weren't sure, but then they gave me a just about number, and I don't even remember what it was, but it was going to add a lot of weight to the trailer, and I was already worried about weight. As many of you know, I started this process with a half-ton truck, and now I have a 3/4 ton truck, and the next episode here in my wrap-up series will talk about my new truck and my choices, but I based a lot of decisions on ordering, when I ordered the trailer, on the fact that I was going to be pulling it with a half-ton truck. So if I had this to all do again, I probably would have gone with the 7'6" ceiling. Although, keep in mind, when you have a 7,000-pound trailer, which they don't make, at my manufacturer, they don't make a 10,000-pound trailer. When you've got that 7,000-pound GVWR trailer, adding that 1 foot of ceiling space was going to subtract from the what I could haul in it, which to me was kind of a deal breaker. So if I had to do it all over again, I might even find a different trailer manufacturer. I may have gotten a 10,000-pound trailer set up, and I would have gone with the 7'6" ceiling, because it did make a difference in the shower, in the bathroom. It did make a difference in those areas. Can I live with them? Absolutely. And will I be glad that I don't pay all that extra money in gas from hauling a trailer that's 1 foot taller? Because it does make a difference. I guarantee you, it's one of the reasons why my last trailer I owned in my other life of pulling trailers was only a 5 foot ceiling trailer. It made a huge difference from 6'6" to 5 foot in what it cost me to pull that trailer. So there's my reasoning, but I probably would do it different. The fan location in the trailer that I had them put in, the fantastic fan I had them put in from the factory. I put it all the way up in the nose because at the time I thought I was going to put solar directly on the roof. Of course, from the time I ordered the trailer until the time that I got it and decided what solar to go with, I had totally changed my mind and did not want solar directly on the roof. So as a consequence, now my fan is all the way up in the front of the trailer, so it's 20 feet away from the shower. So really not the optimal spot to have a fan in your trailer. Eventually, I'll probably cut a fan in near the shower. The black tank size. Oh boy, here we go. Or even having a black tank at all. Honestly, when I first started this build, I actually didn't want a black tank. I actually wanted to go with a cassette toilet. And I'm going to show you what changed my mind. As many of you know, I want to stay in an LTVA. There are several out there, out in Quartzsite, in Arizona, in California, and I want to stay there. And section number 17 is what we're going to talk about. Got a close-up. It's not the greatest, but hopefully you can read that. Self-contained vehicles. In the LTVAs, you may camp only in a self-contained camping unit. La Posa South, Imperial Dam, Mule Mountain, LTVAs are restricted self-contained camping units except within 500 feet of a vault, toilet, or restroom. Self-contained camping units must have a permanently affixed waste holding tanks of 10 gallons minimum. BLM does not consider a porta potty system that utilizes portable tanks or permanent holding tanks of less than 10 gallons capacity to be self-contained. Therefore, I have a 10-gallon black tank. I hit that minimum so I could stay, first of all, at BLM lands, and I didn't want to have to stay within 500 feet of a vault toilet. Now, it may be just fine to stay there, but I may not want to stay within 500 feet of a vault toilet. And if that's the case, I want that option. So I put in the 10-gallon black tank. Not accounting for the fact of how fast you can fill a 10-gallon black tank. Now I have a macerator pump. I have a Blue Boy, the big Rhino tank, and I pumped it many times. It's no big deal. It really isn't. I could empty that black tank almost 4 times into that Rhino tank before I had to drive off and dump it. But it's still something I kind of regret, and I think I would have at least tried to get 25 gallons of black. I was interested in just meeting that minimum requirement so I could stay in those places, and I did meet that minimum requirement, and my black gray water system all worked really well together. Along with that, my other regret, along with the black tank, is, and I hope this doesn't become a problem, but I would try to do it differently if I could, and that would be the location of my black tank discharge, wastewater discharge on the side. It's as high as I could make it. It is directly behind the tire, so I hope I'm never going to have a problem with it, and it is higher than the axles. So with all that being said, I hope I never have a problem with it, but I think I could somewhere down the line with something popping up, hitting it. I don't think it would drag. I did pull a straight line between the tire and the back of the trailer, and I don't think coming out of a driveway or anything I'm ever going to be able to hit it, but it is something I regret and that I would do differently. As far as raising the trailer goes, to remedy that, that's a whole other thing. I know people raise trailers all the time, but you do affect your center of balance on raising a trailer, and you can get sway and all sorts of other things. I am going to live with the height of my trailer and make it work. Next regret, my overall trailer weight. Now, my goal was about between 5,000 and 6,000 pounds. And I did reach that 5,400 pound mark when I checked it. Now that wasn't a dry weight. That was with some power stations, a few other things inside. So it's conceivable that my dry weight of the trailer is closer to 5,000 pounds. But I guess I was secretly wishing for this dry weight of 3,500, 4,000 pounds. Completely unrealistic. But when you have a trailer that's 7,000 pound GVWR, You know, you kind of wanted to hit that lower amount so you could have enough to carry stuff with you, you know, like put your generator on the tongue, maybe carry some e-bikes, any number of things. I think in retrospect, I may have gone, even if it meant a different trailer manufacturer, I might have gone with a trailer that I could have got with two 200-pound axles and have a 10,000-pound trailer. I think they rate those at 9,990. That would have given me another ton that I could have carried. I might have done that in retrospect, but at the time I was planning on pulling it with a half-ton truck, and so I knew I wasn't going to exceed that 7,000 pounds. Just wasn't in the cards. So that's kind of one of my regrets is the weight of the trailer. But it is something I can live with and be happy with, and we'll see what the future brings as far as that goes. Tongue weight. Yeah, there are a lot of you saying, yeah, you didn't put anything in the front of the trailer. Of course you had low tongue weight. But you know, for years I had struggled with my cargo trailers, doing trade shows, etc., having extreme tongue weights and issues, and not wanting to use weight distribution because you couldn't back up with it, and just all sorts of things. So I really overplayed keeping the tongue light, and I wanted to keep that area up front empty. But I could have made an empty spot any place in the trailer in the 20-foot, plus the nose is 25 feet. So I really could have had an empty spot anywhere. But I chose to put it up on the tongue because I knew I could adjust the tongue weight by moving things, power stations, portable solar panels, all those things, moving them around. So I can fix that, but in retrospect, I probably would have built something more into the tongue to get the weight up a little bit more, so I had a heavier static weight in the tongue next time. Now, my biggest regret. Here it comes. The ramp door. Believe it or not, all my thinking and dreaming about this add-a-room to make my trailer from nose to back 25 feet to add another 8 feet and make it 30 feet. I think I didn't take one thing into consideration, and that was the simple fact that there are a lot of places when you park that trailer, you don't have enough room to put that ramp door down. There are a lot of places. As a matter of fact, at my storage facility, it had become an issue, and I had to move my trailer to a larger space, which is costing me more money because when I wanted to work on my trailer, I didn't have enough room to lower my ramp door at storage unless I hooked up, pulled the trailer out temporarily, combed the front of it so nobody'd hit it, and then worked on my trailer. I've got a bigger spot now so I can open the ramp door, but I really think I would have gone with barn doors on the back. Now, I've seen some people go with a setup where they don't have a back door at all, put a side door in, which is kind of a cool idea, but I really want the garage. I feel I need the garage to store tools, all those things. So, no, I wouldn't go with a hard back, but I think I would go with barn doors on the back if I had to do this all over again, honestly. So that about does it for my regrets. I'm sure as the years go by, I'll think of a few more regrets. But as I said towards the end of this, just a little sneak peek. I've got another project coming up, and it's another trailer. So I'm going to flash this up. Yeah, this is a really different trailer than what I've done, and there's a lot of reasons why I got this trailer and what I'm going to do to it. So this trailer build is going to be completely different, and you'll see why when you see what I'm doing to this trailer. So stay tuned. That build will be later this year, and we'll have a lot more fun with that. So, as always, I'd like to ask you, please subscribe, like, ring that bell, comment if you disagree with me, like what I said, anything. I love commenting back and forth, having a conversation with the people that watch my channel, and I appreciate all of you, and I love doing this content. Hope to be doing it many more years, many more projects like this one. So have a great day, and we'll see everyone later. Bye.